Donald Trump's plan for the homeschool community. Let's talk about it. What it is, what it isn't. So this video has been going around social media for the past couple years, but it's come back again recently and family members and friends have been sending it to me. So I thought, let me address this video. I've seen you guys talking about it in the homeschool groups and there's so much misinformation going around. It's mind-boggling.
Trump is a pure genius. Watch this.
So to support the growing homeschool movement, in my next term, I will immediately fight to allow homeschool parents the same incredible benefit, $10,000 a year per child, completely tax-free to spend on costs associated with homeschool education. I will also work to ensure that every homeschool family is entitled to full access to the benefits available to non-homeschool students, including participating in athletic programs, clubs, after-school activities, educational trips, and more. To every homeschool family, I will be your champion.
It's so amazing to finally have our president back that actually cares about homeschool.
Based on that video, people came to a lot of different conclusions. I've heard people deduce that $10,000 is like the amount that we spend on a public school child now will be just given to homeschool families. That is not true. First of all, the amount of money spent per pupil for school, for public education, varies greatly from state to state and district per district. So first of all, right now, let's cut that out. That is not what is happening here. And then people think, oh, it's going to be a tax credit, like you get a credit on your taxes. I've seen people say this in the homeschool groups. Oh, you get a $10,000 credit per child on your taxes. No, you don't. And then some people think like, oh, it's $10,000 you get to spend per year for homeschooling your child that you get reimbursed. No, that's not what this is at all. Let's look at the real video. One thing, when you go and you just Google, oh, Donald Trump homeschool plan, the entire first page is filled with opinion, articles, essays, videos. These are people's opinion. These are not facts. When we are trying to verify a claim or research any information, we want primary sources. We don't want secondary sources. Primary source is what Donald Trump said out of his own mouth. And so we cannot look to different news sources to give us primary sources. You have to go there yourself. What is a primary source in this case? This would be Donald Trump's own official website and a video that he himself and his people put out. So that is what we are looking at. I am on donaldjtrump.com. You can find the video and the transcript of the video right there. Let's watch. Donald Trump pledge to homeschool families.
As president, it was my honor to support America's homeschool families and to protect the God-given right of every parent to be the steward of their children's education. Since the China virus, America has seen an estimated 30% increase in homeschool enrollment. When I am reelected, I will do everything I can to support parents who make the courageous choice of homeschool. Under the Trump tax cuts, we allowed families to use 529 education savings accounts to spend up to $10,000 a year tax-free on tuition for grades K through 12. This was a tremendous win for school choice, very important, school choice, remember that term. And yet that benefit did not apply to homeschoolers. So to support the growing homeschool movement, in my next term, I will immediately fight to allow homeschool parents the same incredible benefit, $10,000 a year per child, completely tax-free to spend on costs associated with homeschool education. I will also work to ensure that every homeschool family is entitled to full access to the benefits available to non-homeschool students, including participating in athletic programs, clubs, after-school activities, educational trips, and more. To every homeschool family, I will be your champion. Do not vote Democrat. They are looking to destroy you. If you don't mind my saying that, Joe Biden can't put two sentences together, and yet he's looking to destroy you. Do not vote Democrat. Do not vote for Crooked Joe. Vote for Honest Donald. Thank you very much.
The point of this video is to explain what he is proposing He said, under the Trump tax cuts, we allowed families to use 529 education savings account to spend up to $10,000 a year tax-free on tuition for grades K through 12. You just heard him say, you're allowed to spend that money. He did not say he was going to give you any money. He did not say you will be reimbursed any money that you spend. So this is not a tax credit. It's not a tax deduction. It's not a tax write-off. He simply said homeschoolers will be able to use their 529 accounts before college. In order to know what that means, you need to know what a 529 account is and what, if any, benefits are there to using it before your child reaches college aged. A 529 education savings account is simply a bank account used to save for your child's college tuition, room and board, and the like. Now, in a regular savings account, if you save $200 a month for 18 years, you'll have $43,200, maybe a little bit more depending on the account type. With the 529 ESA, you'll have a lot more, hopefully, than $43,200 because it's an investment account. Your money isn't just sitting there. A company is investing it in things like stocks, mutual funds. Now you may ask, well, why don't I just invest my money outside of a 529 account? Well, when you invest normally, you have to pay taxes on any money that you earned or make through investing. Let's say you invested in crypto and you earned $1 million, you're going to have to pay taxes on that $1 million. However, since a 529 is specifically for education, the government has said, because this is for education, as long as you use the money for education, you don't have to pay taxes on your earnings. That's where that phrase tax-free comes in. This image to the right is just an example from Virginia529.com, and you can see that you keep $12,000 more when you invest through an ESA and use the money for its intended purpose. Now, traditionally, the ESA has been used for college tuition and expenses. Under the Trump administration, it was expanded to include K-12 tuition. So private school tuition, not expenses, not your textbooks, not your supplies, not your field trips. College students, yes, supplies, room and board, etc. K-12, no. So we can assume that this would be for some sort of homeschool tuition. Don't get confused when you hear him say cost associated with homeschool. That does not mean that you can use these funds for whatever you want. That wording comes from the IRS documentation on the 529 ESA, and K-12 associated costs just means tuition. Now, obviously, the first thing that came to my mind as a homeschooler is, what tuition? Right now, this doesn't really make any sense, but it really didn't need to make sense because this was a campaign video whose purpose was to garner the support of the homeschool community. Maybe we could assume that the tuition would be to a co-op or micro school, but again, you also have to know that this could mean your co-op or micro schools are now going to be subject to standardized testing, monitoring attendance, things like that. But let's just assume it's figured out and you can use these funds for OutSchool or something like that. Is there any benefit for using your ESA for K-12 private school or homeschool? In order to figure this out, I need you to stay with me because it requires a little bit of explaining. Remember how I just said the 529 is an investment savings account, correct? How do they make sure you actually make money? Because it's an investment, stocks can go up, stocks can go down. Well, here's how it works. Whatever investment company you go with will develop a plan. The plan will look something like this. Say you have a newborn baby. You want to save or invest for her college over 18 years. You give them $3,000 to invest initially, and then you pay $200 a month for the next 18 years. In the first few years, the company invests in more riskier stocks to try to increase your investment. They can do that because even if they lose money, they'll have 10 to 15 years to earn it back. Toward the end of the investment period, they'll invest your money in safer investments like mutual funds. So from that example, you've learned two things. One, if you're not investing a good amount of money into this savings account, this whole situation doesn't even apply to you. For the homeschoolers that I know who are struggling to pay bills, struggling to keep up in order to homeschool, it really doesn't make much sense. The second thing is the 529 ESA. This type of investing is long-term investing. You make money over 18, 15, maybe 10 years. So for many of us, if this new change takes effect right now and you go and get a 529 ESA, it's not like you can invest money for a year. Let's say that you invested $5,000 this year. Next year, you might have $5,200. You would just be able to use that $200 tax-free. That's what they're saying. Okay, so from that explanation, we've learned two things. If you're not investing a lot of money, this doesn't apply to you. Number two, if your kids will be entering high school in the next 5 to 7 years, this also doesn't apply to you because it's too short term. You should be using the 529 to save for your child's college. So who does this help? People who already have money in their child's 529 account and want to use it to pay for private high school or homeschool cost. Now, why would you want to do that? Well, maybe you've saved all this money and you realize your child isn't going to college. So you might prefer to use that money to pay for the rest of their private high school. Maybe you have invested the money there, but your child is going to get some sort of merit scholarship or athletic scholarship to college. So you want to pull that money out before college and use it for a private high school. It would also be helpful for people who have been saving for their child's education from before the time they were born, and now you want them to go to like a private K-12 school, or if there's extra money left over from a previous 529 that they want to apply to a different child. If you want to learn more about this topic, I am linking a bunch of resources below. Thank you to my dad, who is a retired actuary, for helping me do the research for this video. I've kept it pretty simple here, but you should definitely look into investing for your child's college education. And even though it is true that you need to invest a significant amount each month in order to cover the cost of tuition, you can still make a good $20K over 18 years if you're investing just $100 or $200 a month. And even if your children are older, you can still start saving now for graduate school. So if you have a kid who wants to be a veterinarian or a doctor, or they're going to need some sort of advanced degree, you have 4 extra years to make sure that your money is growing. And also, these earnings can be used to pay off student loans. So if your child is 10 right now and you're thinking, oh no, I only have 8 years. No, you have more like 12, 13, 14. You actually have until they are 25 years old, so you can use it to pay off the loans that they got to get through college. The first link I'm putting down below is a savings calculator, and this will tell you how much money you need to invest initially and then how much you need to contribute each month in order to pay for your child's college. There, now you have it. I've cleared it up. Education is a federal issue, but really it comes down to the states. And I think there are some awesome state programs right now for homeschoolers that maybe can be replicated in different states. So now you know. Hope this video was helpful.